what's up? Hello, my name is Emma, and today I am starting my reading vlog for The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare. I have to give a huge shout out to Lily from Lily Mead here on YouTube. She went to the American Libraries Association's conference and saw that they had Red Scrolls arcs and picked one up for me and just like asked if I wanted it. And she totally didn't have to do that. It was really sweet of her. I do not deserve the kindness of this community, but if you want to check out Lily's channel, she talks about books and writing and it's just really fantastic and very, very kind. So thank you so much, Lily, for getting me this book early. If you don't know, Red Scrolls of Magic is a new series co-written by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. It follows Alec and Magnus from the Mortal Instrument series. The first book, Red Scrolls of Magic, takes place after the events of City of Glass and either before or like going into the beginning of City of Fallen Angels. As a note, I currently don't know if this vlog is going to be spoiler free or spoiler filled. I'm running a poll on Twitter to see what you guys would prefer, but I'm currently 50 pages in and I'm really enjoying it so far. The first non-spoiler thing I want to say is it is so weird to open a Cassandra Clare book and have it not be the Shadowhunters font. This is not Terra, and it's weird. The other thing that's very different from the other Shadowhunter books format-wise is the chapter titles. Firstly, there's a table of contents, which like I have not seen in a young adult book in ages, so that was a big surprise. But the chapter titles are much more straightforward. Like the first chapter is titled Collision in Paris, and another one is titled The Crimson Hand. So it has to do with things that are going on in the chapter you're reading about, but in like the Mortal Instruments, Temporal Devices, and the Dark Artifices, the chapter titles are much more poetic. There's a lot more subtext and depth behind them, and it's not as like straightforward and directly related to the content. So that's been really interesting so far. As for the plot, I love the setting of Paris. It's just like super cute and fluffy to start, with Magnus and Alec just being on dates, on vacation together, and having like really meaningful moments at the very start of their relationship. Cassie Clare has done such a great job of like writing characters as they age and develop, but now she's jumped back into like the very first few sightings of Alec and Magnus in the Shadowhunter world. So it's weird going from like this super intense relationship they have like in the Dark Artifices to like when they have just started dating. And I think that's being accomplished really well in the book so far. It's just been a lot of fun to return to this time period. Like you guys know that the Mortal Instruments is my favorite Shadowhunter series, and so like going back to smack dab in the middle of it with a new story is just so much fun and bringing me so much nostalgia, and I'm loving it. The final thing I want to say at this point is that the plot of the Red Scrolls of Magic starts much quicker at like the very beginning of the story compared to some more recent Cassie Clare books. I know a ton of readers who have said that it's been taking them a long time to get into like the Dark Artifices series, because like you'll be 150 pages in and like the main plot line will have only just been introduced, but it starts right off in the beginning and there's already been like a ton of action and conflict, which I've really been enjoying. The one thing I'm really interested to follow throughout this reading vlog is how I feel about the writing. I made it very clear since like the beginning of my Shadowhunter journey that I greatly prefer Cassandra Clare's individual works. She's collaborated with a ton of authors I love independently, but I just feel like her best work always comes when she writes alone. But this is the first Shadowhunter book that she is like writing a novel with, as opposed to novellas with another author. So I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. At this point, it seems like their writing is meshing really well together. Like I can't pick out their individual voices, which I think is really great when it comes to collaborative novels like this, but it definitely just like isn't the way I feel when I read Cassie's individual writing. So I do notice a difference already, and I'm just intrigued to see how I feel by the end of it. I have a lot of high hopes, that's all I can say. So right now I'm going to go get a pedicure, and normally I would read my novel, but I really should do homework today. So maybe I'll start with some homework and then get some more Red Scrolls done, but I'm really enjoying it so far, and I'm super excited to take you along on this journey with me. So right now I am just reading and finishing up my breakfast at work. I'm in the middle of chapter 8 and I just had like a really cool thought I want to share. I really love how much demon fighting content we have in the Red Scrolls of Magic. I feel like with like every Shadowhunter novel, by the end of it we're like super focused on a war or Shadowhunter politics or like intercharacter conflict.
And it's only in like the beginnings of the series where like the Shadowhunters are really fighting demons. And so already we're like less than 100 pages into Red Scrolls, and Alec and Magnus have already fought like demons on 3 different occasions. So as much as I love like these huge complex conflicts that we have in the main Shadowhunter Chronicle series, I just really love reverting back to like the very basics of where this world started with Shadowhunters killing demons. It's been really exhilarating to read, and I'm having a great time, and it's just so much nostalgia to when I started reading these books, and I love it.
So it is a whopping 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just got home. Tonight I went to emo night in Brooklyn with Reagan from Peruse Project and her boyfriend Clay, and it was super fun. Here's like the one clip I took of the night. On the way home, I stopped at McDonald's, so I got some hash browns and a McGriddle because apparently they weren't serving like normal food and they were only serving breakfast, but it's like only 4 a.m. And I have Red Scrolls of Magic, which I'm going to be continuing on. I think I am up to page like 130 something. We're introduced to a new character, which is really exciting. When this character was first introduced, they didn't have a name, so I was like, oh my gosh, what if it's like a character from one of the previous series? But it's actually a totally new character who I already love. So I'm excited to read more. I feel like the plot hasn't progressed a ton since I last updated you guys. We've just been, I feel like, getting more context. I'm really enjoying it so far, though. I feel like Cassie has like a lot of fun when she writes from Magnus's perspective. It's like really evident in the way that Magnus's voice comes across and the way that the narrator like tells things from Magnus's perspectives. It's just like super fun loving and flamboyant and exciting, and I feel like I didn't like it as much in the Bane Chronicles, but I'm really enjoying it in the Eldest Curses, and we are getting more insight from Alec, which I'm really enjoying. It's just so interesting to dive back into like the very beginning. I feel like I've said this already, but we're getting like so much more context as to like what is happening at the beginning of Magnus and Alec's relationship, and I feel like while you could skip quite a few books in the Shadowhunter Chronicles, like you can skip the Bane Chronicles, you can skip Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, you can skip like a whole series if you really want to. But if you're someone who like loves Magnus and Alec and like you want to know them as well as you possibly can, like you have to read Red Scrolls of Magic because it's really good. So I'm excited to read more because that's what adults do at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, right? They sit in bed and eat fast food and read young adult books. I'm doing this thing right. It has been a hot second since I talked to you all. I feel like I haven't updated you guys in forever, but I'm currently on page 220, so that's definitely like significantly more than the last time. I've read a lot. I just got out of my pole class, and like my one weakness when it comes to pole is I crave fast food afterwards so badly. Like I am doing this awesome high intensity workout and I'm like, let's just wash this down with some grease. So I went to Sonic. All right. What is going on? I have no idea what happened since I last updated you. We had this huge scene that was like a Downworlder reunion, and it was so many different characters that spanned all of the Shadowhunter Chronicles thus far, so that was really cool. I was a little skeptical at first because I was like, is it really realistic that this many people would be in this exact city at the same time and all know each other? But like given the context of the scene and like, you know, the ending of City of Glass and why all these Downworlders are together, like it made total sense to me, and I thought it was a really entertaining scene. Some people don't like it when Cassie references her old books. I personally love it, so I feel like that might be like a hit or miss scene the same way a certain part of Queen of Air and Darkness was for a lot of people, but I enjoyed it. Something I've really been loving about Red Scrolls is the character development for Alec and Magnus. I feel like they most definitely take a backseat role in the first 3 books of the Mortal Instruments series, and even in 4, 5, and 6, they're obviously obviously not the central main characters. So there's a lot of space that has to be like filled just through us observing it through the other characters' eyes. There's a lot to Alec and Magnus's characters that we don't get in the original series, but we are getting so much of it in Red Scrolls of Magic, and I am adoring it. I remember when this series was first announced, I thought it was only going to be from Magnus's perspective, but I've really valued hearing from Alec, especially because he was a character that I didn't really connect to when I first read the series, and I like disliked him for a long period of time. But I like feel like if I had known that like Alec was like this when I was 17 and reading The Mortal Entrance for the first time, I would have loved him so much more. There's a lot of insight, a lot of layers being added. I feel like it's just like we're getting answers that we didn't even know we had questions to originally, which is really cool. And something else I really appreciate about Red Scrolls, beyond the character development and beyond the plot, is that I can feel the tension building really subtly in this story, and I love it. I like that although we have so many great scenes of Alec and Magnus growing together, and just watching the exploration of their relationship just fully explored is so fantastic. But I also like that along with that, we are getting like these little parts of them growing apart and keeping secrets from each other and like not communicating their feelings, which like we all know Cassie Clare loves to do. Honestly, I'm so happy I took the time out of my night to just sit at Sonic and eat and talk about Red Scrolls of Magic.
Power. This is where they generate electricity.
Plants? Power plants?
This is what you do online. It's a social media. It's something you do on social media, not Instagram. No, it's a
Forums?
No. It's a type of name the big social medias.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
And what do you do on Twitter? This is what generates electricity in a European country.
What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, a water turbine?
No.
Dam?
No.
Windmill?
Yes. Oh, you got it. You got it right on time.
So as you saw yesterday, I hung out with Reagan, Michael, and Reagan's boyfriend Clay. We went to a place called Kish Kash for dinner, which was really good. We had some couscous. And then we went to this like coffee shop place where you can essentially rent a table and play games there, like board games, and it was really cool. I had a really good night. I definitely want to go back to the Uncommons, but I have also read more of Red Scrolls of Magic, as that is what this vlog is all about. I am currently on page 300. I have like 40 pages left, so like my big hope is that I will be able to finish it tomorrow. I feel like where I am right now, I am like right in the middle of the climax. Like yesterday and today, I read a ton of like big plot twists and reveals, and like lots of stuff has been happening, so it's been very engaging to read and like easy to want to pick up because so much is happening. I definitely have been able to make some like more general determinations about Red Scrolls of Magic thus far. I have realized Red Scrolls of Magic really captures the mortal instruments well. Like it absolutely feels like you were transported right back to the beginning of the Shadowhunter Chronicles. Like if you had told me that Cassie Clare had wrote this as like the fourth Shadowhunter installment where it plays chronologically with the Mortal Instruments series, like I would not be surprised at all. She's done a very good job at, you know, converting her writing back to what it was a couple of years ago. So I think if you were like a die-hard Mortal Instruments fan like myself, I think you'll be really satisfied. Just like the atmosphere, the conflicts, and the demon fighting, like everything about it, all of these strong elements are very reminiscent of the first few Mortal Instruments books, which I personally love. That being said, I think if you are someone who gravitates more towards like the Infernal Devices, the Dark Artifices, I think you might be a little less satisfied than myself personally. This is going to sound like an insult, but it's not. It's just that coming off of the Dark Artifices series, which I think is like so sophisticated for Cassandra Clare, it's very mature and dark. I just feel like Red Scrolls of Magic doesn't have that, and it's more about like the lighthearted, fun, humorous. Like the humor is identical to what it was in the Mortal Instruments series. I also feel like the installments of the Eldest Curses series aren't as close together as like the main Shadowrunner Chronicle series. I think they take place over like a much longer period of time. So I think there's definitely potential for these storylines to get more intense and darker and like reflect some of her newer works based on when the books take place. Also, a big question I've been getting on social media while documenting my reading of Red Scrolls of Magic is people want to know when you can read this book, because if you are like even mildly into the Shadowhunter Chronicles, you know that there's a lot of crossover between series, and it's super easy to read them in an order where you end up getting information before it was originally revealed. So up until this point, I have been saying you can read Red Scrolls of Magic as long as you've read up to City of Glass, because that's when it takes place chronologically. But I have noticed while reading that there is one piece of information that was originally revealed in City of Heavenly Fire at the end of the Mortal Instruments series that does come up like fairly casually in the Red Scrolls of Magic. Personally, I don't think it's much of a spoiler. Like there are so many other crossovers that I wouldn't want you to know out of order in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. This one I really don't think it's a big deal. So if you're like, all right, it's not like super crucial to the storyline, like no major plot points are going to be spoiled, go for it. Read Red Scrolls Magic whenever you want. If you're like, I want to be as strict as I possibly can and read it exactly the way Cassie Clare published it, maybe wait. But either way, like I think you're totally fine to read it if you read City of Glass. You won't even know what I'm talking about really. So overall, not a big deal. So overall, I've been really enjoying Red Scrolls of Magic. It's definitely not like one of my favorite Cassie Clare books. It's like not near the top or anything like that. But it's really fun for what it is, and I think it was a great decision on Cassie's part to really expand on this story of Alec and Magnus. Like, we've gotten so much context for the beginning of their relationship, and I really treasure that. So even if it's not like the most spectacular, remarkable thing she's ever written, I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I'm super glad it exists. So hopefully I'll update you guys tomorrow, and I will have finished it, and I can give you some final thoughts. I finished Red Scrolls of Magic, and I'm excited to share my final thoughts on it with you guys. Overall, I really enjoyed Red Scrolls of Magic. At the moment, I'm kind of torn between 4 stars and 4.5 stars, but by the time you guys see this video, I will definitely know my rating, so I'll like put it over here as to what I officially decide. I really enjoyed it because I felt completely transported back into the Mortal Instruments world. Like, obviously, all of these Shadowhunter books do take place in the same universe, but because they all take place in their own separate time periods and with a specific set of characters, they do really feel very different, and Red Scrolls of Magic is like absolutely like going back in a time machine to the time of the Mortal Instruments series. I just loved getting the development of Alec and Magnus's relationship. Because this book takes place from both of their perspectives, I feel like we just get a very well-rounded idea of how they feel about each other, especially in the very beginning, because we have so much more content of them later in the series, but we haven't had a lot at like this time period until now. So it was very exciting to see the real start of their relationship and watching those feelings deepen, because that's absent from a lot of the Mortal Instruments books. And not only their development as a couple, but their individual character development was really great. I feel like Malik is always looked at like a single entity when it's really two people who are independent combined together. So I feel like we really get a great idea of who Magnus is as a person and Alec as well. I feel like the main gripe I have with this book is ultimately it just didn't feel as sophisticated as Cassie's more recent works, because it is like so perfectly falls right into the time period of the Mortal Instruments series, it kind of felt like it was written by Cassie Clare around that time before she had more development as a writer. So like I think it's great because it fits so well with where this book takes place in the general time frame of the overall Shadowhunter Chronicles. But I just feel like the subject matter and like the conflicts that took place in this story were a lot more lighthearted and fun like those in the Mortal Instruments series, as opposed to the Dark Artifices, which I'm just coming off of, which was very dark and intense. Oh, I also haven't talked like at all about the ending, like since I updated you guys last. With the climax of the story, there were some twists that I did expect, and there were some other twists that I did not expect whatsoever. So I thought it had a nice balance of like me patting myself on the back because I made connections and figured things out, which I always enjoyed doing. But they also shocked me and gave me things I didn't expect, which is especially exciting to me as a reader. Also near the ending of this book, we get some more content about another very famous couple in the Shadowhunter world, which is Aline Penhallow and Helen Blackthorne. We get to see them meeting for the first time and like all of their first interactions, and it was just so cute. And I know that Cassie has talked about how they do play a bigger role in the Eldest Curses series, so I'm super excited for that. So in the end, it is not my favorite Cassie Clare book I have ever read, but I thoroughly enjoyed my time reading it. I feel like I actually would even like this more a second time while reading. I don't know if anyone can relate to that. Sometimes I feel like when I finish a book, like I really like it, and I know I would like it even more if I re-experience the whole thing, but that's how I'm feeling about Red Scrolls. I will be having a full spoiler-filled review so we could really get into all of the nuance and details of the story that I wasn't able to share in this vlog because I have so much more to say. If you are excited for Red Scrolls, please leave your excitement in the comments, and if you have read Red Scrolls at this point, I would love to know your thoughts. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!